Man, I'm super excited to share this one. I think there's gonna be a lot of light bulbs go off. So there's a disclaimer. I want to almost trigger a few things in you so we can help you have a new identity. So the point of all of that is to start the process of bringing some things to the surface. So then when we get clear on to actually developing, firstly, the self-identity and who we want to be, and then also the vision for our relationships and what, we'll have a bit more of a perspective on that. So you may experience some things. I think this will probably put a lot of things in place too for some of you. So most men don't consciously create their relationships. They fall into relationships instead of choosing them intentionally. They rely on attraction, chemistry, and convenience instead of vision, leadership, and clarity. I've heard many times where it's much easier to stay with the person than it is to leave. So that's where we get to. Relationships then become a reflection of the unconscious wounds. That's what happens. As we get through, you'll see more of that. If you don't design your relationship, you'll default to the one you subconsciously inherited. So if we don't consciously do it, you're going to act out patterns that you've picked up and people you have modeled unconsciously. And so most people are doing that. That's what their relationships are like. And that's why there's so many people. I think it's up to like 50 something people now. 50 people. It's over 50%. You have more chance of getting a divorce than you do staying together. A marriage contract is the easiest contract to break. Maybe not the most, I don't know about money-wise. So it's important to get clear on it and also to become conscious of it, so then we can start to evolve the relationship and start to change the relationship consciously and unconsciously, rather than it just kind of going back and forward like this. What was that face for, Chase, in the chat?
Just if you don't design your relationship, you default into the one you subconsciously inherited. It's basically, just what you need to learn to heal yourself. Yeah, exactly how it works. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. So we attract the partners at the same level of dysfunction that we have. You don't attract who you want, you attract who you are. That's why I always keep saying, like, just keep working on yourself and chase the man. That's been much more prevalent for me, and I think it's something that you've probably heard me say multiple times, and you will continue to. Chase the man you want to become. That's all you have to do. Just chase that down ruthlessly, and everything that you want will line up with that. Because it's law of attraction. That's a universal law. It's like gravity. Gravity just doesn't decide to turn on one day and turn off the next. Like, we're not all floating in the air one day. It's always working. It's the same as law of attraction. It's always working. But then it's funny. It's like people say, oh yeah, I attracted that, but when something's good, but the whole time it's always working. So if we understand that it's always working, we don't have to focus on doing that. We focus on becoming someone better and raising what's inside of us, so then the things that we bring into our life through universal law just happen. Your unresolved wounds match or balance out her unresolved wounds. So you have a wound, and I say wound like, it's just a trigger or something that we have, a belief or something that's in us that we have disowned, not loved, we rejected, any of those things. And so then they match or balance. So if there's someone who is, probably heard me say this before, you've got that middle line. If someone's super, let's use a label here, narcissistic, self-centered. So if someone's self-centered, they will probably attract someone on the opposite side who's very, so if someone's, they'll be be very low, because it's that balance. It's like they're not attracting the same, but they're bringing it into balance. So it's not necessarily we attract the same, but we bring it into balance. And this is why generally the person will piss you off and trigger you. It's because it's like sitting like this. And the more that they are like this, or like this, I just mean out of balance, the more triggers they will be. And most people, this is the thing here. The next point here. What feels like chemistry is often two nervous systems recognizing familiar dysfunction. So this is what happens when sparks go off in the relationship and it's amazing and, you know, all these things. And it's quote unquote toxic. It's because it's like this trigger is getting lit up and this one is, and it's exciting and it's liberating for a period of time. And so if we don't work through this, we're going to have a dysfunctional relationship rather than a conscious relationship. That's why the thing that you may have liked about a partner or someone else you may know of, there's like this thing that they do that is you might think is cute at the start. And then that becomes the same thing that you despise, you judge, or you dislike. It's the same thing. At the start, it was there, but then it becomes something that we dislike. So that's just a sign that it goes from this to then we realize the dysfunction. We're unconscious to it and we think it's chemistry and it's cute, but then we judge it, despise it, and becomes dysfunction. All right, this is the next part. I was writing this today. I was like, man, it makes so much sense. Men aren't raised to be men. They're raised not to be women. Boys are taught, don't cry, don't be soft, don't be emotional, don't be like a girl. And so we're never taught to be masculine. We're just taught not to be feminine. And so then we reject it. So then it creates this internal split, that rejecting feminine and rejecting it in you. Think about it like this. It's like we grow up and we're taught to don't be like this, so then we unconsciously reject it. Then we become older and then it's our job to protect and provide for the thing that we have judged and rejected for our whole life. As a kid, we've been taught to do. No wonder why there's so many fucked up relationships. It's like we're rejecting this, we're rejecting it in ourselves, but then we have to look after and provide for it. This is at a global scale as well, if you think about it like that. So as adults, as I said, we're expected then to protect what we have been conditioned to reject. So we're expected to protect the feminine, but our nervous system sees feminine and the expression of that as weakness or a threat. And this is why when it comes to singing and dancing, a lot of men, it's a weakness. We unconsciously feel it's a weakness. Not everyone. Some people like it. Especially when, maybe at home too. There might not be a weakness then. So her emotions feel overwhelming because you were taught that they were wrong. This is why it's hard for us to, at an unconscious level, sometimes it can be hard for us to understand what's going on because we're just going like, this shouldn't be happening, this is wrong. Because we've been taught to reject it. We've literally been trained. So men shut down, they get defensive, they explode, or they withdraw because feminine energy feels unsafe to them. So we're not raised to be men, we're raised to not be females, to not be women. And this is why it's your role as a father to be, and future fathers, to be that role model for them. Because the schooling system is even doing it. Don't fight. They can't fight, they can't wrestle, they can't do any of that shit. They're literally teaching them to not be females. Now, we know, if I said to you, don't think about a red car, what are you thinking about? A red car. So if we're telling them, don't cry, don't be soft, don't be emotional, don't be a girl, don't be feminine, don't, where's all the focus going? And so this other side is just whatever. And then so we're focused on this part of it, of the feminine, but we reject it in us, and then we turn numb, or we don't know how to deal with it. Because it's like, this is bad, I'm rejecting this, this is bad, I shouldn't be feeling this. But we haven't necessarily, some of us may have been, but most people haven't had the best role model on this side of a mature, healthy masculine. I wonder why so many of us don't know what's going on. You guys are different though. But there's a lot of people who are just lost. So most men unconsciously recreate their childhood home dynamic. We repeat the emotional patterns we grew up with. We attract partners who trigger the same wounds as our parents did. We relive unfinished emotional business through our relationships. You know, things that might happen in other areas of life, they generally get pushed through our relationships. And then familiar dysfunction feels like love when it's really attachment or addiction. So, you know, we might think that we love, but it's a little case low, and it's more attachment and addiction. It's like that saying, if you love something enough, you can set it free. Most people, when it comes to things, they can't do that. That means it's more of an attachment and an addiction than an unconditional love. Most men often expect their partner to emotionally parent them, unconsciously. Sorry, not most men. Men often can do. Seeking validation, comfort, approval, sympathy, or emotional soothing from her. I used to have a big pattern of sympathy. I learnt that sympathy would equal attention, and I learned that sympathy would get me what I wanted. Somehow along the lines I learned that. And so then I realized, and it wasn't until I started doing this work, but it played out in a lot of relationships, that there would just be a pattern of sympathy, wanting sympathy. It happens. So this forces her into the masculine role and places you in the child role. Now, is there any mothers that want to sleep with their sons? I'm going to say no. And potentially there is some fucking sick people in this world. But generally, no. So, if that dynamic has happened, then obviously, of course, intimacy is going to die. The masculine and the feminine polarity then collapses, resentment grows, and connection dies, as I mentioned. Relationships fail when men rely on their partner to fulfill emotional gaps they refuse to face. Nearly there. How many times have we heard someone say, why do I keep meeting and dating these people? Makes so much sense. Yes. I know exactly why. We all know exactly why. Most people aren't willing to see that though. So, without your relationship vision, your wounded identity runs the show. So, most people, they don't even have a vision for their relationship. They don't even have a vision for themselves. They don't even know what they want to do. They're just going through the motions every single day. And our unconscious is running our whole life. And as Carl Jung said, until we become conscious of the unconscious, we're going to think it's fate. It's going to dictate our life and we're going to think it's fate. So if we don't actually consciously create a relationship vision for ourselves, it's going to be our programs and patterns that are running it. And it doesn't matter if we are in one or if we're not in one yet, you can still have that vision for it, and one, you can transform that relationship. The other one, you can become the person and design that before you get into it. So your triggers lead the relationship, your fears guide your communication, your old patterns decide your future. So you must define who you want to be, not who you default to under pressure. That's kind of a big thing that we're doing over tonight, maybe some other nights. And we're going to go a lot deep. We're kind of going into just developing like a bit of a vision here. Some of these things where we spoke about up here around these patterns, programs, around the masculine, feminine, also the feminine wound and wound. We're going to do a lot of that around, and it's very liberating for a lot of people, the Bond weekend, which is in March, I think. So if you're not in the program then, and you want to keep going deeper on your relationships, you might want to continue for another year. Women can't relax into their feminine when men act from wounded masculine. If you don't lead, she will. Then she becomes the planner, the decision maker, the emotional leader, and the stabilizer. Then you'll resent her for being the man you are not being. And I said you intentionally there in case it triggers. But I don't necessarily mean you. But I could be saying you. Just depends. If you felt like I was saying that straight to you then. But this is the thing, right? How many times do you see this playing out? Like the fact that we're going through this now, you can probably see either this resonate with you, or you see it in someone else, or you see it in something else, some other person. It's like how many people, I'm just trying to think of an exact example. Like, they make the decisions, they plan, they spend the money, they decide what's going on, but then the male whinges about that. They're not willing to step up and do the job that they're supposed to be doing, but then they're resenting the other person for doing it. It's kind of like getting someone to paint your house, and then you're running around behind them just ripping them to shreds, being like, what the fuck are you painting it like that for? But they're doing something that you're not willing to do.
It's funny you're saying all this, because I'm looking at this. I noticed over the course this year, things that me and my wife have changed a lot, and everything is so much better, our communication's better, everything's so much. Not till I'm reading this have I realised where we were at the start of the year, she was totally masculine and I was totally feminine. And I was doing more and more feminine stuff trying to make her happy, which was doing the absolute polar opposite. I've never actually realised that where the dynamic had shifted and how it was. So this is just such a massive eye opener. So it's like we've done it without realising we've done it too. So
yep.
It just makes me realise where we've gone. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, that was very clear. And I have a feeling that I actually might have told you on the very first time that we spoke that the polarity was out.
Yeah, I do remember saying something like that, and I had no idea what you meant by it. But yeah, I've grown so much, and I understand so much more now. So
good,
yeah.
Nice.
Just like I said, not quite what I thought today, but things are coming, like you said. So good.
Nice, good. And
a few light bulbs for me was, so for example, in my growing up, my dad was very controlling with finance and life in general.
Yep.
And I didn't want to be seen like that, so I went completely the opposite way.
Yep.
Where I was happy for her to make decisions and I was happy to go along for the ride, but long term, just after reading that and after seeing, I just fucking seen everything. So
yeah.
It was just like, holy shit. Like, and in some cases, she actually spoke up and needed me to lead in those areas, but it just didn't land.
Yep.
It didn't land how it was sitting with her, and it just didn't land with me. But it just after listening and just reading through it, it's just like, holy fuck! I've just seen my whole 16 years just flash before me.
Yeah.
So
good, nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
Good information, very good.
Nice. That's this is just the first start. The first step is just awareness, right? Like, you know, it's about becoming aware of this all first, and then sometimes that can be enough to shift things, but then also then we're just bringing up more things to eventually to work through. Plus two, doing like, it's amazing how we can wipe out so much in other things. Like Adam was saying, for example, too, like how much the dynamics changed. And apart from the Bond weekend, we don't normally do too much around the masculine and the feminine, and that polarity. It just happens over time. So just bringing all this stuff to the surface and being aware of it. Sometimes your unconscious just needs to realize, and you to become conscious of the unconscious, and sometimes that's enough to do the job. So, yeah, more things will come up, but the fact that you're seeing all of this is amazing. One thing I want to point out here too is your fears guide communication. A lot of people can communicate perfectly. I struggled with communication a lot. And it was all based around fear. Like, I had a belief that I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't communicate properly. How do you think that's going to go in life? So we all can communicate, but it's just our fears, consciously and unconsciously, about not wanting to maybe upset someone, or not knowing what to say, or doubting ourselves. It's not that we can't communicate. And so that's very surface level almost. If people say, I struggle with communication in relationships and this and that, I'm like, cool, that's just what's happening. That's what you see. That's not actually really what's going on. So naturally your communication, I know Adam, you've said this before, your communication just increases naturally just from doing this type of work and letting go of the fears and the doubts and the worries and all of those things. So lucky last point, conscious leadership starts with understanding yourself, not fixing her. Dan, if you're watching the replay, this one's for you. Your triggers reveal your work, your reactions show your wounds, your defensiveness shows your fears, your patterns show your conditioning. When a man can sit with himself, he can finally sit with her. When a man can sit with himself, he can finally sit with her. I was actually on a call with a guy today. Dan, you saw that call. And he was 3 months out of a relationship. And I said, what's the biggest thing you need right now? And he's like, I need to find someone who respects me, and I need love and all these things. And I'm like, man, we've got a long way to go. I didn't obviously say that, but this is the thing. It's like the lack of self-worth. He's been disrespected at work, quote unquote disrespected, not respected at work. What he perceives, his partner left him, all these things. It's an us problem, and when we can understand that, we stop pointing, and most of you do. We stop pointing to the external world, and we go, cool, because then we actually have a way out. We have a way to fix it. Most people, they think that the external world's controlling them. They don't have any control, and that's probably what the powers that be, want to us to think, that we don't have any control. But you have so much more control, and I think also when you realize, when you start working through this so much more, when you start seeing your value, seeing your worth, loving yourself, you'll see how much things change externally. If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect anyone else to respect you? Yep, 100%. 100%. Sounds like how I was, and I'm guessing all the rest of you can't see the path because you're not looking forward. Yeah.